Hi and welcome to this week's walkthrough video. This week we're covering the topic of David waiting to be king. Please bear with me because I've got a bit of a cold, but hopefully we'll get through this lesson together. So if you haven't already done so, head over to truewaykids.com. There you can download this week's lesson, print it off and follow along with this walkthrough guide. So on the front cover we have a picture of King Saul in his palace after David is called there to play a harp for him and to help him sleep. And what we're going to try and cover in this week's lesson is the rest really of David's life pre-Solomon. So we're just going to have a quick look at some of the major topics. It really covers quite a few chapters, 1 Samuel 18 through to 26, plus a bit of 2 Samuel. So some of the main points we're going to focus on is, first is the sin of jealousy. We're going to learn about how Saul became jealous of David and how jealousy can affect us. We're going to look at friendship, so how Jonathan and David had a really special friendship and how we can thank God for the friends that he gives us. We're going to learn about trusting God when our circumstances don't seem to make sense. We are going to remember that David has promised he would be king, but his journey wasn't an easy one, it wasn't a simple one. But we're going to learn why sometimes this happens. And then we're going to learn about waiting on God instead of seeking revenge. David on multiple times had the opportunity to have revenge on King Saul, but Larry decided to wait and trust on God. So on the first page of the lesson, you'll see them the main topics, some ways which you can deliver them, some fun activities you can do as well, some science-ish projects which are really a lot of fun. Just how to deliver. There's the video playlist for this week's lesson. They'll take you to some videos on YouTube showing this week's lesson, as well as some worship songs and like that go along with it. So as usual, I've included the printable story which you can print off and use at bedtime or during the week. So it's David waits to be king, and there you see him on the front cover playing the harp for King Saul. This talks about a friendship that he had with David and Jonathan. Then we, on page 3, is the time when Saul went into a cave and David could have had revenge, but instead he just had let him go past, and second time took part of his garment. Then finally David becomes king and he sees God's promise fulfilled in him. So these are a great story you can use again, just review it at bedtime maybe, or you can use it to cut up and to sort out the story so you try to understand the order of events. But we've got another activity which we'll also do this later on. So some games and activities which you can do to go alongside this lesson. The first one is friendship cards, or even friendship bracelets. So we learn about David and Jonathan, the special friends they had, and you can talk about two children, but maybe a special friend which they have. Just make a small card for them, simple card in, thank you for being my friend, or draw in some activity which they like to do together and give that to them. That will really make that other boy or girl excited to receive that card, to know that they appreciate it for being a friend. But it's also good for your child to just think for a moment and thank God for friends which they have. Another activity you'd look at is bedtime music. So when Saul couldn't sleep, he called David to play the harp for him. And maybe with your child, you've already listened to lullabies or sing some songs as they're going off to sleep, especially when they were younger. You probably did it, or some musical thing in the room to help them sleep. So you can talk about that. And there's a good selection of Christian lullabies which you can sing together. So either play them, listen to them, or sing them along at the bedtime, and that just gives the child a better understanding of what it was like for Samuel. Last game is called Sneaky Pirates, and this is a game where one player faces a wall. They can pretend to be King Saul, and then you put some items. Normally I just use cups or soft balls behind the person. Then the other children or the other members of your family need to try and sneak up, collect one of the cups, and go back without the player who's not facing them, Saul, hearing them. And you can talk about how David snuck up on Paul and cut off the corner of his cloak without being spotted, and then it's just a way of playing a fun game of that and trying to walk across the room as quiet as possible. So to go on to the worksheets, first one, because we're talking about being jealousy. Jealousy is a different emotion maybe for younger 3-year-olds. They don't really understand what jealousy is, so you'll have to try and break it down. But for that reason, we're looking about emotions. So you see pictures of different children with different faces, and underneath there's some emojis, and what they must do is circle the one which matches the picture above it. And then I have here what is the time, So the child will look at a little hand and match it up with the number and write the number next to it, that being time or clock. That just talks about how David had to wait for his time to be king. Hiding in the cave, you see just a little story of a cave. You see Saul, you see David there. So one of them each. Then hidden around the picture is 7 bats. Now most of them are quite easy to see, but I'll give you a tip. There's one hidden there on the tree, which is a bit harder to spot, but I'll make it a bit more difficult for some of the older kids to find, some 5-year-olds and so on. This was a simple activity, handwriting practice again. They just have to practice drawing straight lines, so they draw the lines down there to make the strings on the harp. So this week I've included 2 crafts as well. The first one being the Harp Craft. Here's the instructions of how to do it, and included the free template. I recommend you print this template on the thickest card which you've got and make it a lot easier to use. So here's the one that we actually made. All you need to do is color it in on the page and cut it out in adult when you do this, because it's quite hard to cut that middle bit. Then tie on a piece of wool here and thread this. You thread in this direction, you thread down, across, back up, across, down, across, until you get to the end, and just tie it off. And it's just a simple harp which you can look at and learn about. The second craft is this David Waits to be King story wheel, and because you're covering quite a lot of ground really in this week's lesson, this is just a story wheel which covers the rest of his life. So there's the front page, there's the next page of it, and here's the one which we've made. So you can see, let me find the start. So there, David's in the field and he's waiting to be king. He goes off to fight Goliath with his sling. There he is fighting Goliath. Then he's called to play music for King Saul. Then King Saul gets jealous of him and he ends up hiding in a cave, but he's kind to Saul, but eventually he becomes king. So all you do is color it in, then cut them out, cut this bit out from the first page, fix them together with fasten a pin, and it's all made. There's also a video on the website showing how to make this craft. So coloring pages, we have one of them hiding in the cave, David and Saul, one of David playing the harp, and then one of the friends, David and Jonathan, which again is just nice and easy to colour in. So you've got the crafts, you've got colouring with the crafts, but you also got these simple which you can use to reinforce the lesson throughout the week or as an alternative to the craft. Last page, as always, is just some worship songs which may go this week. Help me be a friend, Jesus is my best friend, and we are royalty. How David was the king and how God calls us to be kings in him. We thank God for our promises this week and ask him to help us to be not jealous, but be thankful for things he gives us. Well, next week we're going to be looking at David's son Solomon, so we're moving through the Old Testament together. But I really pray that you'll have a blessed week as you look at this study with your child or children. That God will really bless you to explore the Bible together, engage in his word, and I'll see you again next week as we look at Solomon. God bless.